Hello, and welcome to The Excerpt. I'm Dana Taylor. Reaching speeds of nearly 40 miles per hour, BMX racers at the 2024 Paris Olympics will have more than just a medal on the line. The sport can be deadly. A relatively new competition in the Olympics, BMX racing was added to the 2008 Beijing Games as part of a strategy to attract a younger audience. And based on the recent addition of other action sports to the games, such as climbing, skateboarding, and surfing, that strategy is working. To talk about his journey and what's at stake in the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris, we're joined now by Cam Wood, a 22-year-old racer from Montana who is currently America's top hopeful. Cam, thanks for joining me on The Excerpt.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
You're a two-time World Cup champion and currently the Olympics points leader for the U.S. men's team. What are the stakes for you personally at the Games in Paris this summer?
Yeah, I mean, this has obviously been a dream of mine for a really long time. Growing up in a small town in Montana, I actually vividly remember watching BMX racing's debut in the Olympics when I was 7 years old. And two Americans actually went home with medals from that race. And from that point on, it's been a dream that stuck with me. And obviously, as a BMX racer, this is the pinnacle of our sport and all sport in general, right? This is the Olympics. So just an incredible opportunity that's nearing, and just unbelievably excited for it.
You mentioned growing up in Montana, and I know that you played many different sports, including basketball, football, skiing, golf, and track and field. What was it about BMX racing that made you decide that this was what you wanted to pursue?
Yeah, I loved every facet of competition. I just fell in love with it. And I think BMX racing was just so head to head, and the adrenaline rush of just the anticipation of the gate dropping and having only 30, 35 seconds to cross the finish line first. And it just felt like I was very competitive, and it was kind of the best way for me to express myself as a kid. I love team sports, but feeling a little bit more weight on my shoulders and just taking the losses, they kind of hurt a little bit more, and winning felt a little bit better when it's kind of when it's an individual sport. So yeah, just for whatever reason, felt like I could express myself, and my personality meshed really well with BMX racing, and just continue to grow within the sport. And I love it more every time I get on my bike.
Cam, your inspirational journey to Paris really began 6 years ago with your family's relocation to Phoenix. Tell me about how that decision came about and what it meant for your racing aspirations.
Yeah, when I look back on my whole journey, I think that was such a critical moment in my life. You grow up in Montana, it's just such a unique BMX environment, and it's unheard of in our sport. Everyone's from warmer weather climates, and having that story of being from somewhere where we had one rideable track in the entire state. It's just a really rare background, and my family sacrificed so much. They've been my biggest support system my whole racing career. Them, moving across the country, largely in part for BMX, I felt that weight on my shoulders, definitely, but I feel like I channeled it in a really positive way. And they've been my number one supporters from the very beginning, and I definitely, wouldn't be in this position without their support.
BMX racing as a sport was once dominated by American athletes, but recent years have shown that Europeans in particular are becoming more competitive. Why do you think that is? Is underinvestment by the U.S. a factor here?
We were in a transition period for a little bit. We had very successful athletes that were kind of nearing the end of their career. You're lucky in BMX racing if you get 10 years. And I think that transition kind of happened a few years ago. But I think right now we're in a really good place. And I think myself, along with Cam Larson, our other male Olympian, I think, we've both proven that we can compete at this level and we can win races. And yeah, we're kind of going in there with a little chip on our shoulder, and everyone feels really good about where we're at.
Okay, let's talk more about your competition in Paris. Which racers and teams do you think will be your biggest competitors? Who are you watching?
Yeah, I mean, this is the Olympics, right? It's the highest level of sport. Everyone is going to be at their best. And so I think you can't take anyone lightly. You can't take any team lightly. It's going to be a new experience. Obviously, this is my first Olympic Games, but we race all of these people all the time, multiple times a year. So there's going to be some familiarity there. And I'm just looking forward to the challenge. And like I said, this is the highest level of competition, it's going to be hard. I think it's best to expect it to be hard and show up and just compete to the best of my ability.
I want to broaden the conversation now to talk about BMX racing more generally. It's a sport that's largely categorized as an extreme sport with greater physical demands in many ways and also big risks. Connor Fields suffered a head trauma that forced him out of the competition at the 2021 Games in Tokyo. What will you be doing to stay safe? What are you most concerned about?
Yeah, I mean, naturally, there's a lot of risk, right? You get on top of a big starting hill, you're going 35, 40 miles an hour, you're bar to bar with 7 other people, which are uncontrolled variables. There's a lot that you can't prepare for. You have to kind of trust your instincts and, trust all the years and years and years of racing and having to adapt to new situations. So naturally, there is risk, but I would say the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. And, as soon as you cross the finish line, you want to do it all over again. So I think it's something we're all comfortable with at this level, and it's what makes our sport so unique. It's what makes it so fun to watch. And yeah, I'm looking forward to everyone, seeing the action that goes down in a few weeks.
As I mentioned at the top, BMX racing is one of several extreme sports the International Olympic Committee has added to the Summer Games to attract a younger audience. Is extreme risk part of the attraction for that audience? And is it part of what attracted you to the sport?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. It's something, when you see it in person or when you get on a starting hill and you realize, this starting hill is 3 stories high and we're going 40 miles an hour in less than 3 seconds. I think people are able, obviously they haven't been in that situation, but they can relate to what that speed is like, right? And they can kind of put themselves in our shoes. And yeah, it's definitely an action sport and it's a contact sport. It's physical. Really in BMX, there's not many rules as soon as that gate drops, right? So it's kind of fair game. And I think it naturally is interesting for people on the outside looking in.
Well, Cam, you had a serious crash in May of last year that took you out of competition for 5 months. Did that injury make you reevaluate your racing career at all?
Yeah, it was very challenging for me. That was definitely the biggest hurdle I've faced in my professional career. I'd been really fortunate up until that point in terms of injury. I felt bulletproof at times, young in my career. You take some crashes. That's always part of what we do, but was able to get up for most all of them and kind of continue on. And this one had me sidelined for 5-6 months. And yeah, it was just really hard, for a period of time, you're in this mindset of every day, having these goals and feeling like you're able to chase something and it gives you purpose in what you do. And sometimes in injury, for whatever reason, you just feel stuck, right? It's things take time and having to go through that. And that was the ultimate lesson on patience in my career. It's hard to see it in that moment, but I think it benefited me a lot as an athlete and as a person as well. And I think it's beautiful in a way, right? Our Olympic criteria started right after I had that injury. So it made my journey here really hard. And I think now, when it's all said and done, you reflect on that journey more than anything.
As you know, 3 of the favorites for the U.S. women's gymnastics team were forced to drop out either just before or during the trials this year. Are Olympic competitions getting to the point where injury is almost inevitable? And can or should sports leaders do anything to stem the tide of injuries?
There's risk in what we do. Being an athlete in any discipline, it's a complete sacrifice. And we put our bodies on the line every time we choose to go out and get on the BMX track. And like I said, there's risk in every sport. So I think it's part of it. And I think as athletes, learning how to manage those situations, learning how to manage those thoughts and those fears, that's what makes the good moments so rewarding. So, without having to face that adversity and face those fears, the successes, they wouldn't feel as good as they do.
As the top contender on the American team, you are no doubt an inspiration for the next generation of BMX racers. What's your advice to those athletes who hope to emulate your success?
I'm just always believe. I've always had a belief in myself. And I think, coming from a small town, having the background that I do, I can't emphasize that enough. Not being around a BMX environment and not feeling, like I was successful really until late in my teenage years. I lost so much as a kid. And I feel like I can't emphasize that enough. I lost over and over and over. And I didn't learn how to win until I kept losing, basically. So just having that resilience, taking obstacles head on, facing challenges, and just continuing to show up every day. Sometimes things go your way, sometimes they don't. But I feel like I've always had that steady belief in myself, and it drives everything for me. It's what gets me out of bed in the morning. And I absolutely love what I get to do. I feel blessed and grateful. And I couldn't imagine living my life any other way.
And then finally, you're heading to Paris. Other than competing in the Olympics, what are you most looking forward to?
There's a lot of things. A lot of my family and a lot of people really close to me are going to be there. So I'm really excited to share that moment with them. Obviously, it takes a team to get to this point, and just going to be a special moment for everyone there, everyone that's been a part of the journey. And I can't wait to share that moment with them. And obviously, anytime you get to throw on a USA jersey and wear the red, white, and blue, it's just a complete privilege and honor. Something I've always dreamed about. And to do it at my first Olympic Games at the highest level of sport, it's going to be unforgettable, something I remember for the rest of my life. So I just couldn't be more excited.
We will continue watching and following your journey, of course. Thanks so much for being on the Excerpt Camp.
Thank you guys for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. I'm Dana Taylor. I'll see you next time.